Well, a London derby of sorts, North London up against West London, and Tottenham Hotspur and Jose Mourinho are the happy ones that go away with all 3 points from Craven Cottage. Shaka Hislop with me to talk about this match. Shaka, I want you to describe what you thought of this match in the description you just told me off camera.
Well, totally off camera and assumingly off the record. I said if aliens came to planet Earth, saw that game and were told that that was an example of the highest level of a sport here on planet Earth, they would promptly disintegrate the entire planet. The game was that bad. If somebody told you that Spurs was one of the big teams in European football and Jose Mourinho was one of the best managers ever in world football, they would again destroy Earth, gather the little pieces, and make sure and shoot them to all four corners of the galaxy so that we don't come back together by accident. The game was that bad.
The game was that bad for Shaka. It definitely was a bit hard to watch at times, but at the end of the day, it was 3 points away for Spurs, something that they have needed in this kind of rebuilding now that Jose Mourinho has had to do after a bit of a bad patch. So it wasn't pretty, but job done. How happy would Jose be with this?
Listen, Jose Mourinho would be delighted with 3 points, of course, as you rightly point out, Alexis. And regardless of what you make of Fulham, we are talking a London derby, and those have their own challenges, and all the London clubs point that out. And Spurs get the win. They were very dominant in the first half, should have been 2 or 3 up by the break, in all honesty. But then the second half came, and Fulham were by far the better of the two. And all of a sudden, Spurs were the ones who were scratching their heads and looking for answers and could only turn to Hugo Lloris to keep themselves in the game. And in the end, a rather controversial handball, though correct handball decision, denied Fulham at least a point. And Spurs and Jose Mourinho come away the happier of the two, even if their football were the lesser of the two. And we are talking about a Fulham that are still in the bottom 3.
And I mean, just thinking of Jose's, I suppose his recent games, we know what Jose type football looks like, and it's not exactly for the football fans. But recently he has kind of allowed them to let loose and attack a bit more and kind of make it a bit more free flowing. But when you look at the stats in this one, and you see the likes, of course, of Kane's son, Ali, Gareth Bale on the pitch, and you see only 2 shots on target for Spurs in this one. Any worries there?
Yes, of course, but I'll also point out those aren't new worries. Those are the worries you've had around Spurs for quite some time. But then all of a sudden, over the last couple of weeks, you've seen Dele Alli look back to his former self and be included, at the very least, in this one from the start. You've seen Gareth Bale do similarly, both in the league and Europa League. And you just thought that this was a turning point for Spurs, and a turning point for those 2 players in particular. But then today was very disappointing. So much about it, and not just about Bale and Ali, but so much about everything Spurs. And outside of that first 15 minutes, where I thought Spurs looked, they started slowly, and then from about 5 to 15 or 20 minutes, they looked like they were really going to step up and take control of this game, and you would expect win convincingly. And then, as I say, it kind of petered out back end of the first half. And then the second half was all about Fulham. And credit to Fulham for as good as they gave. But Fulham's problems all season long has been in front of goal. And that's what you saw again today. For all their dominance, for all their chances, they found either Hugo Lloris in good form, or, as I mentioned, just unlucky in terms of the handball law and how it's been written and interpreted for the last couple of seasons.
No surprise that Shaka would have to bring in some of the goalkeepers, but you're right.
He was good. He was very good.
He was great indeed, Shaka. So with that, I suppose let's look at some of the positives there. Spurs now just, and I say just, but at the moment, 4 points off of the top 4. Everton there in 4th position. Again, you're looking at Jose trying to, like I said, rebuild after a bad patch and have Spurs kind of go on a bit of a run there. top four in their sights still? I know we keep talking about this, or anything to suggest from at least the last couple of matches, including tonight, to suggest that they could go on a pretty decent run, at least until the end of the season.
Yeah, well, Jose Mourinho has always hung his hat on results, and he'll want to, and you do that again with this one. But I just feel, especially when you have a team constructed in the way that Spurs is, a team with the kind of attacking talent that they have, and Jose Mourinho can call on, the kind of negative defensive approaches don't serve them well. So whereas I think just because of their talent, Spurs win more games than they lose. Because of their talent, they beat Fulham, even though Fulham are better. I just don't feel that that's an approach that serves you well in the long term. They're still in touching distance of the top four, as you mentioned, Alexis. And we've seen glimmers of Gareth Bale maybe returning to his best, and Dele Alli, though I'm not holding my breath, certainly not in the way in many Spurs fans will, or I am sure after they see this, will point to. And in a top four race that is tightening and any number of clubs involved, I just feel there are others that are far better and better positioned to finish in that top four.
Thanks so much for watching ESPN on YouTube. And for more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for premium content and live streaming, subscribe to ESPN Plus.